Michael, you just got back from the B license. How was it? And like, what all did you do?
The B license was an absolute overload of information that made me question my thought process. It was good. I mean, it's not a joke. It was overwhelming. 6 in the morning till 12 at
What?
night, and we grinded out the days, and it just became a blur. And at the end of it, I felt like my brain was mush. As much as I mastered the game as a soccer player, being a coach in this new environment was extremely challenging on a healthier side, and extremely difficult because the instructors were asking difficult questions that challenged every single one of us. And I could not have felt more insignificant on so many levels as a soccer junkie.
Really?
Yes. Yes. It was wonderful. Anxiety driven at times, plenty of cups of coffee. But they were very purposeful in their questioning and thought and process, and it was a challenge. And I'm up to the task. It's still going. We're about halfway through,
Okay.
and throughout this process, it's just layer by layer, adding to what we've learned, field application. So we were in the classroom, we were on the field, we were back in the classroom, back on the field, and it was just a layer after layer of structure, thought, cognitive ability, teaching moments, everything. And we're only just getting a couple slices of the pie right now. We have many layers to go.
Gotcha. Was that the first time that you guys all met up for this license? Has everything been?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's two in person. So it was an in person. It was in Kansas. We had pro coaches, we had academy coaches, we had college coaches, and then we had a couple of we had a couple club coaches. But the majority of them, being that it is a B license, emphasizes more in the 11v11 in more professional environments and higher levels. So ECNL teams, pro teams like Cincinnati, and
Nice.
things like that. So it was good because all of us were ex-pro soccer players, or were former pros, and so we had a commonality. But even though our commonality was kicking butt on the field, we got our butts kicked in the classroom.
There you go. But that's good though. Like, if you're gonna go to these courses and things, and they're gonna have you come out to, learn and take all these, in-person tests and things, like you're getting something out of it. You know what I mean? Even as like, yeah, you were a pro for 10 plus years, you know what I mean? But you're still able now to go back and actually get something from this. I think that's good, like, because it
Yeah.
could be like, there are times like, even like, you go and you chat with a coach and you're just like, oh my gosh, like they're clueless. You know what I mean? It sounds bad, but to be able to go to this and actually get something from it is really good. Like, because especially U.S. soccer just being known like that, like licensing, I think the idea behind it is a lot of people are kind of like, what's the point? But to hear that somebody's actually getting something out of it is good.
It's, I think we take an easy road when we point the fingers, whether it's ex-pro soccer players that are coaching or coaches who have never played. And there's a lot of resources to try and make this happen. There's a lot of catching up to do. There's a lot of challenges that are presented amongst the coaches in the US, and what does that look like? And I know that there are players that shouldn't be coaching. I know that there are coaches that shouldn't be coaching that never played. And the biggest challenge is to, I'd say, honor what we've done, but also know that we have a lot of learning to do, and we can make a positive impact on the next generation. We played the game, so there's a similarity in it. But as coaches, our job is to not coach as players. Our job is to coach as coaches should, as teachers
Mm.
should. And in this, it's nice because our drive and our commonality is to be better than our previous coaches were, to make the next generation absolute class and to have an impact. And it's quite difficult because the questions and the foundation and fundamentals of the B course are challenging in a lot of ways. But I think, and I believe, these are good people with the right intentions. And it was, for me, humbling to be in an environment that I felt comfortable being pushed in. And it's been a while since I've been in that. And it's not what most people think. And yeah, I couldn't be overjoyed.
I was actually going to ask you, since, on the playing side of it, for how many years you've done it, and, when you're in that, like in your role, your position midfielder, you're confident, like, what it is, what you're doing. And now on the other side of this, you've done coaching since you've been playing, and from all age groups, honestly. And then now to be put in this environment, I was wondering if that, like, has it now like triggered that little bit of like, what is it, like competition, not competition, but a little bit like driven to like you were as a player?
It's so interesting because like coaches, I look at soccer players and how do they become the players they are? Well, their environments that they're in, right? I think of coaches that were mentors to me, and I've realized that I've modeled a lot of my coaching philosophies and involvement with the players off of them, because they inspired me to be the player I was. And with that, it's really quite fascinating because my player's mind at times is like, a midfielder should do this or a fullback should be doing this. But the problem is that's not teaching, that's correcting. And for coaches, our job is to have an objective as a whole. How do you have one subject, one topic, and the entire team can kind of dive into this? Is the objective something that every player in the field will be impacted by? And like talking about not simple things, but attacking in the final third, right? Moments to attack. Is it off a transition? Like the different moments of the game. As a player, I know what I wanted in terms of my vision of success. As a coach right now, I kind of have to throw that out the window. I'll take little pieces, and the pieces I take is actually more from a character standpoint or a leading standpoint. How do we get the players involved to want to be there? What does my coaching model, communication, even my positioning on the field look like? Because if I'm in the middle of the field while the session's going on, that changes my ability to coach. It also changes the perspective of the players. So the positioning of everything and my communication, what I verbalize, it can impact all the players. And they've emphasized this. We have a responsibility because my words can impact a player positively, but also completely change the course of action of an individual's life. And heavy responsibility, but at the same time, it's also encouraging to know that in such a way that I've been impacted, I can only hope to have that same impact for players moving on.
Nice. No, I guess like you hit it like kind of spot on. That's what I was like wondering was, about that, like the communication is huge, because that's one thing that we talked about like even last year, 2 years ago now, was about the coaching communication, how important it is. And like I've watched you coach. I think you do a great job, but even to hear coming back now, like, and thinking about it even more, I'm excited to see you coach when I get back, because I just want to see this all play out, because I already think you communicate really well with your players. Like that's why like we have clips like on the account right now, like of just little moments, because you do speak to them really well. And that's like one thing I've always advocated you for, like, was how you communicate. So I'm interested to see how you coach when I get back now.
Well, I'm absolutely honored that you would say that. It's I've been lucky in the years that I played, that I coached. And I think in doing so, I'm comfortable speaking on different age groups, boys and girls. And as this moves in, what I've realized is clarity is power. And to have a clear language communication with a complicated tactical session or complicated pieces of the game, it absolutely can change a course and a mindset of a player. And the difficulty is creating clarity, not just on the subject, but to have everyone involved, to see how one piece can impact everyone and what is the response of the players. And the challenge is today's society of players are going to be hard on themselves. We don't know where everyone is. And now we're talking about getting personal, and what does that look like per player, per position, per playing time, per environmental factors, all these different situations that I don't have any control over. And
Right.
so they're one of the biggest things that I've really caught on by. I think he's like the guru of the B license. He pretty much head haunches it, and he head haunches the instructor. He's talking about like, we're going to do some objective data off of you guys, and basically your verbiage, we're going to count and assess what that looks like. We're going to talk about ball in play, ball out of play. So how long am I talking for? And how long is the ball being active? How many balls are being active? How much action and touches are players getting? And this is all important. Why? Because ultimately you only have an hour and a half with players. 2 hours, if you're in a pro environment, it could be more. But based off of today's new science and periodization, you don't want to overdo it. Proper rest is important. So the intensity at which a session is planned, as well as how much action each player should be getting based off specifically their position, and not just doing rondos. And I love rondos, but you can't do rondos anymore. And it really, it's thought provoking in a lot of ways. And I think there's a lot of reason to it. And a lot of the questions I came out with was more along the lines of like, okay, so this is US soccer. Now, what does it look like in Spain? What does it look like in Germany? What does it look like in England? What are they teaching coaches in the academies, in the pro environments, to lead the next generation of players? Because I mean, I love the US. We are behind in the world of soccer, and they're ahead for many reasons. Is it cultural? Is it the coaching? It could be both. But ultimately, we're playing catch up, and we need more people wanting to be brain dead after a course, I suppose.
I respect that. I do. I feel bad to admit I started my session today with a rondo now.
There's nothing wrong with rondos. Rondos, you get hundreds of touches. There's plenty of action. It's good to do rondos. The Spanish are fantastic with rondos for a reason. But here was a very impactful thought. It's like, okay, let's say you're a 6. Let's say you're a defender, and you're on the outside of the rondo. Well, first, you're not even in your proper positioning if you were to get the ball, right? So when you categorize a rondo, do you have the players in the positions in the rondo, right? So let's say you're the center back. You would want to be on the deepest part. And then the question is the ball just going in circles? Well, the goal of the game is to what? Score goals. The rondo is here, right in the center, and the 6 is here. Who do you want on the highest point? You want your 9, or you want your 10. Well, what's the issue? You don't want to train your 9 or your 10 to pass it backwards or sideways. You want to train them to go forward. And so you're like, okay, so rondos are wonderful for getting touches. But the problem is you're training habits of 10s and 9s to pass the ball laterally and back rather than going forward if they can go forward. So here you are. So you talk about directional rondos. And then what about if the defenders win it? They just give it away? Or do you have small goals on the side to say you win, connect out? And they're fun rondos that we do that for. So it's encouraging to be pushed in a manner that, to be fair, a lot of the pro teams I was with didn't really have these details. And I know why they didn't. And I understand the professional environment is vastly different than the academy, but this is where they want to kind of test ex-pro soccer players. And I say us specifically because, one, I can't speak for the other B courses going on, but I'll say that I know that the previous B course last year was different than this one, and they've already itched it up slightly. We already have assignments that they haven't had, and it's like, oh, well, this isn't fair. No, this is completely awesome that we get challenged that other coaches haven't been.
Yeah.
And so it's humbling.
I've never thought about a rondo like that. Never. Like, it's always just been like, rondo's always the beginning of a session, and you just have a laugh and you go and you make someone, or you split them and they go again, and I've never even thought about it in the sense of like the actual game itself. Like,
based rondos. What about that? What are you trying to teach in the rondo? What are you trying to teach the player? And then you have to do it based off of age, right? What fundamentals and sub principles do the players have? Are they capable of this exercise and activity? We do 5v2s all the time, right?
Yeah.
But very well. Say what?
Literally what I did today, 5v2.
And it's wonderful. It's fun, but it's fun because the mentality side, this, you want soccer to be fun. So you start with rondos and it's like, I egged him, I split him, I this, and this. But if we have an hour and a half, if we have 2 hours max, how do we maximize that time so that their success comes naturally on the field. The habits are repetitive and game-like. And rondos are that in a lot of ways, but it's something that it's like, okay, what should that look like? Pro teams do rondos all the time. Real Salt Lake, I talked to the assistant coach and he goes, we do open rondos. And I said, what's an open rondo? He said, the coaches will actually join in the rondos. Why? Because we want to create a family atmosphere. We want to know like we're all in it together. We want to know, like we want the players to know, like, yeah, let's have a good time and accept that and take responsibility on defense and on offense. And, they change it up as you would. But it's like, what kind of environment do you want? Do players resent training because they don't enjoy it, because it's too hard? That's leading the team, that's leading the player, all the different factors that play into coaching. And are we capable of it? Yeah. Are coaches continually challenging themselves? I think so, but I also think we take scapegoats, and I hold myself accountable at times. It's like, maybe not today, maybe this seems fun, but our trainer or our instructor said it takes him an hour to write his session every session. And he's writing 8 to 10 hours of just writing his session out, to think about it, to think of how to impact it. And it's like preparation. If a preparation is right, then you actually do less coaching or less adjusting or less reacting as a coach. Less reacting means less anxiety, more structure, and not everything needs to be structured. But I think it's important to think about this because I wasn't taught that. I didn't have teachers telling me, by the way, as a coach, maybe we could do this. Did they know? I don't know. I don't think they did. In the professional environment, the coaches were very thoughtful. Periodization was absolutely a must, especially for pros, because you don't want them to get injured. The thought at times I thought was too tactical and not as freeing as I would have liked, but that's a style of coaching for that coach. And we all have our styles. And the thing is as coaches, how do we know if we're succeeding or not? And, it's the wins. You might just have the best players. You don't know if the players are growing.
Right.
You don't know what about the other teams. You don't know so many different variables. So it's like, to know right now that there are certain objective data points that I can look at and go, I really should have done this better. And this impacted the team completely. What I said here made them emotionally more rattled. What I said here, and I'm just taking notches, leveling up, and I'm doing it as fast and as wholly as I can.
I'm very interested to see what you come back with after your second in person, because that's way more than I thought, that like I was gonna get back on the how to go, situation. But no, that's awesome. And that's a ton of positives. And now I'm gonna ask you, if you could change one thing, what would it be about this?
About the course, about the bee, or about me?
The course and the license is what I was going towards.
Anything to change right now, I don't think I have a place to say this should change, because it's first course for me, and I'm humbled to be in it. I would like to know what other countries look like in terms of their coaching methodology and philosophy and how they go about it. Because right now, it's been a while since I've been to school, and this is absolutely taking me to the curb right now, which is I'm my head's above water. I'm breathing. I'm good. I'm eating all that stuff, but it was definitely overwhelming. And I'd be very curious on the timetable of other courses. Because the B is 6 months. The A is a year. The Pro A, I mean, the longevity of the course itself and the impact that has on the environment that I'm coaching in. I mean, when I was there, I was thinking to myself, I'd love to do this more. I would love to be in person, in a classroom with the instructor, tackling all these issues. And the beauty of the ex-pros is we were asking questions that were impactful for the pro environment based off of what we remember or what we played in. And that, even the instructor said, the conversations we have are a lot more fun and more applicable to, like, these things can be dissected in a manner to progress a professional game. But here's the issue is we need to prepare players for the professional game. And what does that look like? And what is the cognitive ability of players? How do we get our 17s to be playing the way they are at age 15? How do we start taking back years and creating these environments for the next generation? But I would say, to your question, I wish I had more in class time.
Yeah.
Because we were there for a week and honestly, mush, absolute mush. And I know other courses go 2 weeks, other courses go longer. This is a B, this is the time that's allotted, and it makes sense in terms of, you know, what they see, their budget, their time, instructors and all of it. But that's me. I'm that type of guy. Give me more class time.
No, I get it. I mean, I would do better like with the in-person than I would with an online class. Like that's why I went to a small school, because if I was going to a big school or online classes, your girl wouldn't have graduated. So totally. But now having like, or getting close to completing this, since you've done the first part of it, you're halfway through it. Once you have this license, like what all does that mean? Like who can you coach, and you know, what all does that license give you?
The license opens up opportunities for, I'd say, applications into the pro world. So you have MLS coaches that have their B license. You have assistant coaches that have their B. You can be an academy coach. Really, in the US, you can pretty much coach anything. So it creates massive opportunity in terms of the resume. Am I worth that journey? I don't know. I won't know until I get in it, if I get in it. And, you know, the biggest thing for me and why I took this in self-reflection, because a lot of the B course is self-reflection. It's like, where are you at in growth and my goals? And my goals of this is to learn what today's B license and professional atmosphere in terms of coaching looks like. Am I capable to the task? I like the end goal of like, oh, I want to be a pro coach. But for me, I feel like I feel like my goal is much more organic and I suppose holistic, in the sense of what am I capable of? What things can I learn? And how can this advance my soccer mind? Being a player, it was hard enough to hang up the boots. And now stepping into this next world, chapter, phase of my life, I'm very, very open to constructive criticism, to learning my many failures, and just growing off of it all, and seeing what kind of a soccer junkie I can become.
Well, it sounds like you had a solid week, man.
Overwhelmed. It took me a couple of days to digest and like reset my head, but that was catching up on sleep and not drinking 6 cups of coffee. And but it was very humbling and very wholesome.
Nice. Well, I'm glad that you took a minute to talk about this, like, because, you know, I've even thought about possibly stepping into the B license myself, because we had talked about that at one point. I now know what I'm getting into, even just with probably once I'm done playing. But no, that I really appreciate you answering that stuff, and hopefully anybody that watches this, it can kind of help them if it's stepping into the course, if they're halfway through it. Some of those feelings, maybe they just got out of that week court or that week in class, and they're like, I feel it too, you know. So no, but I appreciate it.